We're back. We're up.
All right, we are here. Hello.
Brandon looked like he was worried something was going to come in through the window. Like, good.
I was actually pulling up my character is what was going on. So.
Oh, crap. Character sheets.
Yeah.
Roll
Off to a
20.
great start today.
Frank needs to do that too, apparently. Well, this is Dungeon Not Included, and we are playing Tears of a Machine SC with Russell Collins. And we're going into our final arc, I believe.
Yeah.
We got to wrap up the previous one, right?
Yeah. Well, I think we've got one more episode in our story, so we'll have to see how it shakes out. First, we need to sort of wrap up the previous episode. We finished our big giant robot fight, and we've got some fun stuff happening, like Salem suddenly being very impressive to the members of Able Company, and Noah further sinking into the depths of despair, and Fatima jumping in and getting everything all smashed up. So we're at the end of that episode, so we actually have 3 beats of sort of post crisis wrap up. I usually suggest that these are the beats where you tie up any loose ends before the credits roll. You take that time to try and heal up or simmer down or whatever. So there's only 3 beats devoted to this time before we have sort of the episode break, and then we come into the next. So you can use this time to queue up something you think is going to happen. You can use this time to try to make yourself a little less fragile going into the next episode. You can just take a beat and relax to get rid of a little angst. It's up to you. Does anyone have any suggestions for how they'd like to try to wind things up? Because I've got ideas if no one else does.
Let's see.
Well,
go ahead.
You got something, Frank?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I was thinking I might want to have a scene with Marta.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
The instructor whose confidence I have lost, to see if I can regain it.
Sure. Yeah. How do you want to meet up with Marta? And what's the angle going to be on this? It's usually pretty easy to find her around the academy, but you could try and track her down somewhere else, or at a different time.
Yeah, I think maybe we run into each other after the fight, as things are, as people are still scurrying around.
Yeah,
trying to put things back together.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there's a lot of crazed cleanup. A lot of damage was done actually to the Ark's Akker, and everybody's still trying to figure out what to do about all that, as fire crews or hopping aboard transports and flying across to the other ship, and everybody's got something to do right now. But yeah, you can crash into her in the middle of all that.
I think that's where I'd like to set that action. That connection. And this is right after Noah has sort of headed off, after we've gotten out of our saints.
Okay, yeah. So you can sort of find her in the crowd. She looks sort of harried as much as anyone else. She doesn't hop aboard any firefighting equipment or anything like that. So she is kind of looking a little bit out of sorts, just trying to keep track of where everybody's going outside the academy building as people rush back and forth. What's the approach? What do you want to say? What do you want to say to her? What do you want to,
I'm going to go up to her and basically call her attention to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then say, Marta, I wanted to apologize to you for my behavior earlier.
Okay. She's a little stunned by that, because in the midst of all this, action, that does sort of come out of nowhere to her. So, she sort of, stops what she's doing, pauses, like, there's a little, that slow blink as she kind of realizes and makes the connection and turns to you. Oh, well, I mean, that's good of you, I guess. But I mean, I'm really hoping that I hope you kind of understand why I've been upset about things. I mean, it's not just about me, it's about, everything. That she gestures to the, the frantic action going on all around her. I mean, I want you to kind of know what it means if you aren't sort of doing your part for all of this.
I think that this attack certainly drove that home.
Okay. She certainly agrees at that point. Yep. Well, do you want to go to the dice? What?
Sure. I don't have an awful lot to play here because this is definitely outside my normal areas of expertise. So
now, yeah, one of the things you can do when you're trying to put something right, you can get, assists from the the support characters without like any negative outcome to them. You're trying to make things right. You can still have a bad die roll, which means things don't get better or maybe get worse. But you do have that little boost of people want to see things get better around them. So you can certainly get an assist die just from Marta because she wants to be able to patch things up. She doesn't want this to continue. So that would get you an assist die. If you work to try and bring in other things. I mean, this isn't really the environment for that. Like if you wanted to like get a mediator or sit down in counseling or something, you could add more.
But this doesn't seem like the time to do that.
Yeah.
But I do have a hope of acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
My hope for acceptance, I think, certainly applies. And I don't know whether brash would apply in this case because I am apologizing for stuff.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll go with 2 dice and we'll see what we get.
All right. 2 dice, and you're going to get an assist. So I will roll for her. Okay, I've got a blank that you're going to be able to take on. Oh, okay.
And I got a minus and a plus.
Yeah, exactly. So this is pretty good because you can take that assist from her to get rid of your minus, and then you'll have a blank and a plus. So there it is, working as intended.
I will do that.
Sure.
What does it take to clear a condition?
Well, you can do that with either a plus or a blank because basically they both mean you get what you wanted, which is to get rid of this trouble. So, and then of course we still have to work out the cost. I mean, obviously the best choice here is blank for the goal, and then we'll use the plus for the cost, and
that's what I was thinking actually. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's one of the, because there's no die left over that I can pull. So if you choose the blank for there's only the 2 that it can possibly be. All right, good. So, she's willing to accept the apology, but what she really wants from you is kind of a commitment to sort of, continue to do better. She wants you to check in, with her and this situation, put a lot of things in focus, but let's keep them in focus moving forward. Okay.
I will check in with you.
That's fine. I can accept that. She knows about your other strained relationships. But you can clear away that trouble. The plus is what's left for the cost. So there's no negative outcome from all this. And also, since you chose to use the blank die for the goal, that means that there are 2 beats remaining for your other members of the company or other, whatever other purposes there are.
the plus give me anything else? Do I get a point of ego or something?
No, that's only if there's a plus left unused.
Unused. Okay, got it.
Unspent.
Did not know that. That's fine.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, ego comes from plus dice that we don't need, that we don't use for either cost or goal.
Okay, cool.
All right, good. So yeah, you're able to sort of straighten things out there. Good. Does anybody else have anything they want to do with some of these closing beats? Like I said, I can throw things at you, but I generally want to give people the chance to use this time to put a bow on something.
Right. I think Salem, this is going to be set, like, let's say, like, a couple days after, cleanup efforts are still underway, but they're a little bit more organized and things have calmed down a little bit. And I think Salem wants to go to, like, the career counselor, right? Do we have a career counselor? Did we ever make a character for that?
I mean, Marta does a lot to try to help with that, but if you would like to speak to someone else specifically, we can make up someone. Let's see. Someone who is like generally a career counselor. All right, let's say it is Dr. I'm looking around at books on my shelves to pick a name. This is going to be Dr. Alton. Alten. So let me put Dr. Alton in there.
So Salem's gonna go to Dr. Alton because Faye wants to talk about sort of what Able Company brought up, right? Which is like, what are the career opportunities here, essentially?
Gotcha.
So Faye does not make an appointment. Comes when, like, they have open office hours. I know doctors don't usually have that, but it's a.
Well, the good news is, being a pilot, a lot of people around the arcs do want to sort of help out and get things done. So when you drift into Dr. Alton's office, she, smiles, waves you over to a seat, and then puts down her phone as quickly as she can. She opens up a desk, pulls out a data pad, begins tapping away on it as she, makes a strong eye contact, gives a little nod to the head, and says, "So, what can I do to help you?"
After the battle on the arcs, I got debriefed on Ocker instead of Jericho, and Able Company mentioned something about me possibly joining them. And I was just wondering if that would, like, change the flow of the future in any way.
Oh, change the flow of the future. Well, I think a lot of that depends on what your personal aspirations are. She's flipping through some documents on her pad, like she's trying to quickly catch up with, like, your grades, your aptitudes, et cetera, as the conversation is ongoing. A lot of the opportunities you would have on Arcs Ocker, you would essentially also have here on Arcs Jericho. You would probably be learning with different people, though, and that would certainly change the environment if that affects your interests. Most of the staff here on Jericho, we're kind of splitting down the middle. We're going to be moving a bunch of people from here over to the Ocker. If you thought it was better to transfer to a different company, then I suppose you could go along, and it wouldn't necessarily change much about your future plans from what I understand them to be, which is pretty thin, according to her files. I mean, what are you looking for to achieve?
I sort of want to guide others. Being a pilot isn't exactly forever. You age out of the program. But I thought that it might be, I might be able to offer some of the wisdom I have to other people.
And you see that in sort of a leadership position, or more of a sort of a classroom environment, or something like this? And she gestures around to her office.
More one-on-one like this.
I see. I can look into some things and maybe come back with some ideas for you. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's great. You can just message me when you have something.
Sure, that's good. All right. So yeah, that will be continued next episode. I think that'll feed in nicely to a little bit of other stuff coming up. We didn't roll dice for that. Is there anything you want to roll dice for? Or do you want to just leave those beats so that someone else can play with them?
We'll leave the beats for now, I think.
Okay, that's fine then. All right, Noah, anything you would like to do?
I think the next big thing Noah has to face is potentially Salem leaving.
Okay.
Right. That's another breaking up of the family, and how to deal with love in a constructive way. I don't know if this is the right time to do it. I think it may be a little early. Right. I was thinking like overhearing this conversation.
I see that being a bigger deal, so I kind of want to make that a focus element of the next episode.
Okay. I
don't think we have enough episode left to do more than hint at that coming.
Yeah, I think so. So no.
All right. Well, the other things we can do is we could spend a beat to everybody like relax. There's certainly the opportunity for a little celebratory moment after the fighting, after it's all kind of died down, because there are still plenty of people who are cheering you on. Remember, you all did great work. You were able to take on that fight even before Able Company launched, which has them impressed enough that they are, now sort of actively courting Salem into their company. But that means that plenty of other people think you guys are pretty keen as well. There are a couple of other cadets who are now sort of, poking around and asking you what's up and that kind of thing. So if you want to spend a beat or two, we could decrease some angst by you guys hanging out and having a good time.
I think that's a good call.
Yeah.
All right. So if you want to spend both beats doing that, we can just say that there's a party thrown sort of in the honor of all of the pilots, but more specifically Family Company, because everyone kind of knows you led the charge in that last battle. So let's use that. Let's spend those beats, and let's let everybody can reduce their angst by 2. If you already have 0 angst, you can actually get a point of ego instead.
So for each point that we spend of beats, you can get an ego?
Yeah. Each beat that you spend chilling out, relaxing, having a good time, you can reduce angst by 1. Once you're at 0 angst, if you've got more chill out beats, then you can use them for ego to increase your ego. You have to eliminate angst first, though. You can't decide, I'll stick with my angst, but I'll add ego. It's got to be, you got to drain away the bad before you can fill up the good.
My angst was already at 0, so.
Oh, well, there you go then. So that's a big ego boost for you to go to this party and have everybody, celebrating you. I mean, one of the big things to notice, remember when we kicked all this off, one of those things about the volleyball tournament that was so kind of frustrating was how all of these cadets, after the winning streak of Able Company, all these cadets kept sort of sniffing around like maybe if they were real nice to Able Company, they'd get to join them. Now, a lot of those same cadets are suddenly hanging around a lot more family company, kind of looking to see like, hey, so when's stuff opening up on your side of things?
Well, we're a pretty tight unit. I don't think we're going to have an open seat for a while, but you can always try, stick around. There's always hope.
Sure. Yep. All right. And with that, we'll run the credits on that episode.
Nice.
And yeah, we can roll right into the next one if you guys are ready. I think,
yeah.
Looking down over our subjects and tone and all that kind of thing, I think we kind of know where this episode is going. Salem has to make some decisions. There's still a lot of frustration in Noah's life that needs to be dealt with. Fatima is doing better about things in general, but you might still need to deal with things about like what Raj is kind of expecting should happen.
Right.
All right. So why don't we sort of keep our order going? Let's deal with let's get into what Salem is doing. So let's see. So Faye is sort of waiting on word back from the career counselor. It's there are a few messages that you get from her about, like, okay, so, this is what it would take in order to transfer and all that sort of thing. And, and where you would end up going and that kind of thing. Nothing serious yet, just kind of throwing some ideas around. But meanwhile, Able Company, specifically Heike and Samantha are, both doing that sort of thing where, like, if you're at the cafeteria, they'll wave and say, hey, come over and sit down with us, and that sort of deal. Whether that works or not, they just sort of keep asking. And at one point at the end of a physical fitness session with trainer Raj, the two of them come up to you and say, hey, look, we're going to be doing some extra training this evening. Why don't you join us?
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be good for you, I think. I mean, we're pretty sure you can keep up, but if you are, wanting to sort of hang with Able Company, you got to show that you can go the distance. After saying that, Samantha starts running in place and so on. Vikas is kind of standing in the background of these two. He always he's always like very chill and relaxed, kind of follows along in their wake most of the time. But you notice a little bit of nervousness now as the two of them always rush over to talk to you when they can. So I guess that's part of the question is, can you keep up with these two when they start going into their extra hours training? Because they really are into sort of the intense stuff, lots of teamwork stuff, and a lot of running and tumbling and additional exercise and so on and so forth. And yeah, exactly. A lot of CrossFit, a lot of all that other stuff. So, I mean, you can join in that with them and see how well you fare, or you could try and take a different angle to see if maybe you can avoid the exercise. I don't know, Salem. What's your approach to their intense CrossFit for the sake of becoming better pilots training?
I think one of Salem's characteristics is discovering, right? So Salem is very curious by nature, and Faye wants to see what Able Company is all about, right? Like, this is a new opportunity, and Faye wants to explore all the possibilities. So Faye will go to the training session for sure. But I don't think that Salem is going to do what they expect of Faye, right? I don't think Salem, the first thing Salem does when Faye gets to the training session is sits down, pulls out Fair Tarot cards, and does a quick reading, right?
Yep.
So I think Faye wants to impress them, but not by doing what they expect.
Okay. Well, yeah. So let's. So you do the tarot. You begin the tarot card reading. That raises eyebrows. Vicus especially sort of drifts over to see what you're doing, while Heike and Samantha are doing their CrossFit. Back and forth. There's a lot of shouting at each other. There's a lot of loud music playing in the background too. They seem to have their workout tapes, which they put on over the the local speakers when they're doing their stuff. There's a lot of like shouting each other, like, okay, like 6 more, or 6 more sit-ups and then crunches, yeah, and all of the all that kind of like get pumped gym stuff. So when Vicus realizes that exercising is not happening over on your side of the room, he does drift over to check out more specifically what's going on. So is it good news? He says, kind of peeking over your shoulder at the cards.
There's good news and things to avoid, like with most readings.
Okay, mixed bag. I get it.
It's important to look at the whole picture, not just any individual card. Salem points at one of the cards and says, this one usually means living up to expectations. And then Faye points at another card. But this one is about change. So together they mean changing expectations.
Okay. I think I'm starting to understand how people can sort of see that this tells them their future, right? I mean, this is about you, isn't it?
It's about what I'm supposed to be doing at the moment. It's always important to have a question in mind when you start a reading.
Heike suddenly bursts over your other shoulder and kind of says, I think what you're supposed to be doing right now is getting up and doing some jumping jacks.
Salem kind of nods and gathers up the cards and says, I was done with the reading anyway.
All right. So Salem, what's the angle that's going to impress these folks? What traits are you bringing in? I mean, obviously, Vicus is already drawn in by the card readings and sort of the spirituality of stuff. Do you want to try and bring that same energy to dealing with Heike and Samantha, or do you want to try something else to sort of win them over? What do you think?
I do want to bring that energy. So basically what I'm thinking is, so it's like a lot of like physical fitness training, right? And I think Salem is more focused. Salem's really good at archery, which is why Faye has the bow. For Fair Saint. So I think what it comes down to is they do something with how sometimes you'll take those like medicine balls and toss them around. I think they're going to do trick shots with the medicine ball.
Sure. I think that they'd find that exciting. I mean, there's also yoga, Pilates, etc., other things that I think you can show off focused exercise as well. It doesn't all need to be jumping jacks and stuff like that. But all right, yeah. So which traits are you bringing into doing trick shots and sort of showing off your focus of energy? I'm guessing shooting is one of those traits.
Shooting, I think outsider works because I'm not like exactly meshing with their particular physical fitness program.
Yes. The person who comes to the CrossFit and does yoga in the middle of the room is and I don't know if discovering makes sense. I mean,
Faye is discovering, but I don't know if that's applicable to what Faye is doing at the moment, right?
Yeah, I think balance matters because you are kind of talking about, I think balance matters to this. So, that's 3 there. Do you want to look for a 4th, or do you think that's enough traits to...
Holistic could also work, right? Trying to...
You did open up with a card reading, so...
Yeah, so...
Yeah. Let's see what those 4 dice do.
3 pluses and a 0. Nice.
All right.
That's a nice roll.
You're in good shape there. All right. So, you'll definitely impress them. I guess the question for you is, which die do you want to be the goal, and and sort of how impressed do you want them to be?
I'm gonna pick positive, and I think I want them to be impressed by the fact that Faye is keeping up with them, but not playing by their rules, right? Like not doing the CrossFit, not doing the jumping jacks, but still like really good at balance and what am I trying to think of? 2 things that like yoga does, like balance, and also like Faye is pretty strong because Faye I would think Faye does do yoga, so Faye can like lift themselves on their arms and stuff like that. Yeah.
Also, I think there's a measure of stamina that comes from good breathing technique and things like that. So when Heike and Samantha are sort of panting at whatever they're doing, Salem is still like taking deep, steadying breaths and all that kind of thing. And being able to just like throw that ball exactly where you want it every single time, that that kind of gets their attention. Heike says, "You got to show me how you do that. I mean, you never miss." She's lined up water bottles along a bench and points to one, and then you can just smack it right away. And every time that happens, she lets out another, "Oh my!" Just every time impressed. All right, good. So, what's your cost? You have a blank. It's your choice. You have a blank or a plus.
I'll take the plus.
All right, no ill effects. And with a leftover plus unspent, that means a point of ego for Salem.
I mean, that kind of makes sense. Salem is flexing really hard.
Yep. And basically at the end of this, intense training session and so on, when everybody goes to hit the showers and then, goes to dinner afterwards, the 3 of them are kind of like locked in sync with you, and at dinner, Samantha says, "So it's a done deal, right? You're in?"
I'm speaking with the career counselor right now.
Oh. Okay. Heike, takes up the thread. Well, don't wait too long, They're going to be doing those reassignments and I don't know, a couple of days, I think. And then, and she makes the gesture of the 2 arcs flying away from each other, separating her hands to indicate the parting of the ways coming up.
It's always important to see the whole picture before making a decision.
Fair enough. But, just don't wait too long. All right. So cutting from that scene, let's see. What other stuff do is there any suggestions that anyone else wants to see in a scene? Fatima, Noah? One of the things to consider is you both still have your hope paths, which, if you can try to make that into a scene, then you can achieve your path maybe and get to level up at the end of the episode. So that's something to consider. If you if you want a scene and you aren't sure what it should be, see if you can do that. Also, if there's another trouble you want to confront, we can go on with that. Or if you just have something else you want to do. I mean, like I said, there are a lot of these cadets who are suddenly very interested in family company. So they're buzzing around wanting attention. Let's see. I also have another idea for a scene if no one else wants to jump in.
What is Fatima's trouble, if any, with training Raj?
I don't have any trouble with Raj anymore.
Okay.
I was thinking maybe Raj is just my link, so as an enemy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a negative relationship. Raj doesn't really think Fatima belongs in the program.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and there's
my trouble is that the family is fragile. So.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna come to a head pretty soon. I have a little I want to do with my hope. And sure, either Fatima or Salem are welcome to join in. But when all that debris fell on Philly, and there was a cleanup force, I am going to lobby the use of one of the I want to lobby for us to go, the preservation force to go and actually handle some of the cleanup, and I'm going to see if I could get them to allow me to use Dagana to do that.
All right. That is
the concept being, which I'll pull in things that some of that debris is extremely dangerous. The debris is actually, monster. So just in case it reactivates, you want someone there who can defend it.
Okay. So you do want to sort of fulfill that path of showing the preservation force should do more. I think in order to do this, they're actually sort of a combination of different things. First, there's sort of the element of convincing superiors that it's a good idea, and then sort of carrying it out as well. So I think this is going to involve sort of winning over. Marta, first you just bring up the idea, and then kind of getting that in front of Commander Merrick, and then probably having Curie, CRC Rep Curie weigh in. So what traits do you think come to bear in your pitch? And,
I'm fearless, right?
Yes.
I'm going at this saying it is completely reasonable for this person for me to say, let me use this very powerful rare weapon as part of a civilian cleanup force. And here is my presentation about it. So I'm going in there pretty fearlessly. I'm empathizing, so I'm going to speak very passionately about the people who are suffering below us and what they need. I am also I'm actually going to use some discovery as well. I'm going to do research about this beforehand and try to explain that this is, the number of times debris from one of these fights ends up reanimating and destroying even more because no one's on site to defend it. I'll throw some bar graphs in there and tell them the painful truth that they may have been missing out on all this time. And again, my hope. So I think justice.
All right.
So those are the four I'm going to pull in.
Yeah. So Marta realizes that you're passionate about this idea and sort of brings it along to Commander Merrick, who seems a little more doubtful, a little more, I don't know. And then that leads to Curie being brought into the meeting as well. Curie, of course, seeming rather irritated at this very idea. The first words out of their mouth are, this is conventional cleanup crews can handle this sort of thing. It's what they're trained to do. I don't see why we should be bringing dangerous and experimental equipment to bear on this whole thing. Again, with those very bird-like movements. Every time that their head bobs from side to side as they speak.
And my argument shifts slightly every time I'm talking to someone, even if the other person is still there. So it's passion at first, and then it's logistics, and just keep sliding over so that it fits with the person who I'm talking to.
Okay.
All right.
Let's roll those dice and see if you get out there and what kind of results we get.
Nope, that was.
Huh. Okay.
All right,
Got an
not bad.
interesting. Oh, okay. No, you're in good shape.
could've
You've got
been
some.
worse.
Two
You've got
pluses, a
some-
minus, and a blank.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So which die is the gold die? I think I know.
I'm going to go with the plus.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Your pitch eventually wins everyone over except Curie. Curie still frets a great deal. They don't so much agree as they relent after the insistence of Merrick and so on, with some finger waggling and some complaints about how the Saints don't actually belong to anyone. They are in effect being leased by the CRC to the Preservation Force, to which Merrick says, well, then I guess we can just consider all of that lab space that you keep on board this ship leased, right? I could just close those rooms down. So there's a bit of a power struggle going on at the top here that you've brought up, but the end result seems to be that everyone kind of agrees, well, if nothing else, Marta wins, gets them. This is a beautiful gesture to the people down below, that we're not just going to send down the crews, we're going to send down our most powerful assets to be a help to them.
Mm-hmm.
So Curie insists on a limiter device being installed, which means that as you're doing everything, it's a little fuzzy, little hazy. You're having a hard time sort of forming memories of the process of cleanup down there. And you recognize it's really to sort of keep the, those other little angry voices that are part of the Saint's brain, to keep those satisfied. Everything is kind of a little fuzzy, a little hazy, but they lower you down on cranes to the wreckage site. One of the big threatening pieces. Remember how I said that when the Magnus leaves, it sort of sheds a skin.
Right.
There is basically this sort of empty half statue of the Magnus leaning against a building. And the problem, of course, is that this is, a couple of tons of what is basically like a silicate glass, And I mean, hey, if it breaks, then there is a landslide of broken glass pouring down into the city. So that you being able to reach out, pick that up, and gently move it down to flat ground where they can hack it apart and so on without worrying about an avalanche is greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I think I'm really I actually think I like working with the limiter, at least right now. It's quieting down the part of my brain that's still angry and upset about the way the memorial service went. So it's just like doing manual labor after having a big traumatic moment. You're just able to numb everything and just keep doing it. And yeah, it works well. I'm following orders. I'm responsive. I'm enjoying the bureaucracy of winning an argument. I think Noah really enjoyed that. And yeah, I'm following through.
All right. So I'm assuming that means you're also choosing a plus for the cost, since
right.
There was since you enjoyed this, it went well and all that. Yeah. As I mentioned, after you sort of finish and get back out of the tank and so on, what you did feels like something that you dreamt happening until, you kind of look at playback and the feeds, and it's weird. It's a disconnection from something you experienced because of that, like, limiter being in there, but you did it. So
right. Maybe a little uncomfortable, but still rather that than have the big feelings I've been having.
Gotcha. All right. So that is a completion of your path. So that means that you will be able to upgrade when the story ends. So go ahead and make a little note there that you have demonstrated that the Preservation Force can and therefore should do more to help people. Good. All right. Fatima, do you have a scene you would like to play out? I can throw something at you if you don't have one in mind.
Oh, no, absolutely I do. So
okay, cool.
I'm going to grab up Noah, and we're going to go and confront Salem about all this.
Okay. So yeah,
That's the best attitude to have going into this, I'm sure.
So where do you find Salem? Salem is, often now accompanied by able company, so you might need to time it well if you don't want them in the room at this, at the same moment. You might want to wait until like a training session for your company or something like that. When do you strike?
Yeah, definitely a training session with the three of us, I think, is when it's going to happen.
Okay. Is it in person or is it a virtual training session in the VR Saints?
That sounds like it could get messy really fast, and I love that.
I don't know. I think I'd rather have Salem buttonholed where Faye can't escape. So in person.
Right. Yeah, if it was in a VR session, there would also be a dozen technicians buzzing around and, and trainers and so on who would have to be part of the exchange.
This feels more Fatima, yeah.
Yeah. All right, then. So, yeah, training session with the squad, with the team. Raj is probably around, but if you want to wait until he steps out of the room or something like that, you can try and, like you said,
we'll make it as private as possible.
Sure. All right. Well, I leave it in your hands.
All right. So Fatima will turn to you, Salem, and say, so I hear you're thinking about switching to Able Company.
They've offered.
Yeah, are you going to do that?
I don't know. I'm looking at all my options.
I think this is the first Noah was aware of any of this.
Right.
He's so in his own head.
Yeah.
And he's just like, again, classic, just not deer in the headlights.
Well, we're your team.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't quit on your team.
I'm not quitting. An opportunity has been presented, and I'm looking into it.
All right, I'm going to roll dice because I want to know how this is going to go for me.
Yeah.
Sure.
I definitely think Brash is falling into this one.
Well,
my acceptance.
Yeah.
I'm going for acceptance.
Yeah.
Because this means a lot to me.
Yes. Well, what's the goal itself? Because
the goal is to get Salem to reject Able Company.
Okay.
Wait. So because this is closest to player versus player, would the goal be better?
I can change the goal to be something that's less controlling of what Lilith wants to do.
Rebel.
Rebel. Sorry.
It's okay.
So something like come to terms with whatever Rebel decides, whatever Salem decides.
Oh, yeah,
I think that would be more like it. It would be me coming to terms with whatever Salem decides.
Yeah.
Rather than me being pretty upset about it because.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, the goal there is to sort of to make peace with it, but also to express yourself clearly.
Yeah.
So that Salem is truly aware that, of what this means to Fatima. If Fatima screws it up, then she's attacking you for this. If she rolls well, then she's truly expressing feelings that you recognize as genuine. I think that's kind of what we're going for here, because this is really about Fatima trying to express herself, which, as we've established, not easy for her.
Yeah, she's not very good at.
Yeah. So let's see if this is the chance for Fatima to reach out and make a connection. And I mean, how Salem receives that, I think, is really still going to be, it's still up to you, Rebel. But you'll know whether or not it's will either make the situation easier or far more complex.
I think this is a great place for Noah to also help Fatima, because it's similar to either I'm just going to accept it and be okay with it, or if I end up helping with a negative die, depending on how it plays out, I'm just not going to be helpful.
I think Salem's also going to help, because Salem wants, like, Salem's big goal is to help fair friends, like, communicate their feelings and be more in touch with themselves. So I think Faye has a vested interest in Fatima speaking her mind, even if it's not something Salem wants to hear.
Nice. Okay.
All right. Yeah. Let's see what happens with these dice. This could be a great moment of coming together, or it could be a terrible falling out. We'll find out.
Nice.
Oh wow. All right. So there's Rebel's roll of a blank.
Yep.
And I will as well. Sorry.
Now remember, you're only going to be able to choose one of these assist dice. So
I know.
Be careful about what comes from it.
Noah gets a blank also.
So just because you can only pick one of the two blanks, I think it's maybe more poetic.
Let's
wait to see what Fatima.
I want to see what Fatima does, because this might not be.
Okay, so I'm going with brash on this one because I am just confronting.
Yes.
I think a little bit of troublemaker too.
Yeah.
Come in swinging instead of being like, "Hey, can we talk?"
Yeah. And then my hope of acceptance, I think, is also playing into this.
Yes, definitely.
I'm gonna go with 3 dice there.
Here we go.
All zeros.
Blanks. What the hell?
Blanks across the board.
Wow. Okay.
Roll20 wants us to keep playing this game for a few more months.
I guess.
Like, no, you can't resolve this.
Freaking broken, because like last session we got 8 negatives in a row. So I.
This is strange. All right. So let's talk about those assist dice. When an assist die, if you leave an assist die with someone, it has an effect on them. If that's a plus, they get a point of ego. If it's a blank, they actually get a point of angst. So you can take the assist from one of your company mates and basically swap a 0 for a 0. In essence, you're really taking that help from them. The person you aren't accepting assistance from is going to get some angst out of this exchange. So it's up to you to decide who's backing you up, who's on your side in this, really.
I'm going to take Noah's blank.
Okay.
In this case. And force Salem to take a point of angst.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep. I think, But the good news is, with only blanks to happen, you do still sort of achieve your goal. It's not a great roaring success. But what you had said about wanting to make an honest, deliberate expression does come across. And Salem, what Fatima is saying, is rough as it first comes, it is genuine. There's a real desire to keep the family together, to keep the family a family.
And you can tell how much it means to Fatima that you don't leave.
That was probably the best roll and way of resolving a roll we could have had for this. Right. It was just like, it works, but it's still sad.
Well, the cost die is also going to be a blank, so Fatima is going to walk away with an angst as well from this. So I don't know. I guess that's kind of the question, Salem. Do you have, how do you respond? Do you have an answer for them now, or is it still up in the air? I mean, you know what this means to Fatima. You know what it means to Noah to lose you. Does that change your mind, or does it help you decide?
So I think it definitely changes something. Like Salem was pretty confident in fair answers before, but after Fatima comes forward about this, Faye gets kind of quiet and thoughtful. And Faye says, it's just an option. It's not a decision.
Okay.
Well, I guess I see where we stand.
All right, kids, enough of the break. We got to get back to some training, says Raj, coming back into the room, crossing his arms and staring at the three of you who were supposed to be, doing some drills. And you're all just sort of standing there with the, with the medicine ball lying on the ground between you instead of actually tossing it back and forth. There's been a little bit of chatter, and I should probably bring it to your attention, that the Ocker is probably going to have to stay in Philadelphia a little longer. The repairs aren't going as quickly as they would like. Apparently, 4-screen projector was damaged by the impact of that thing hitting it. And so there's been some chatter about whether or not we should have your company transfer over to the Ocker instead, so that Abel can begin on tour with the Jericho. Now, of course, I will miss you all terribly, he says, picking up the medicine ball and, pegging it at you to try and get you to start doing stuff again. But might be in the best interests of everyone, Wouldn't you like that to be someone else's problem? He says, picking up another ball and throwing it because no one is paying attention to doing what he wants them to do.
Salem is catching the balls and, without looking, shooting them into the hoop. The basketball hoop that is obviously in this training room.
Oh, yeah, of course there is. Why wouldn't there be?
Those are medicine balls.
Yeah.
They still shoot.
They still shoot.
It's really heavy.
Throw them hard enough, they'll go there. Right?
Okay. And now Jesus breast. Huh. Do we get a choice in this, or is this just being told to us?
I guess it depends on who you talk to. Now we've got a beat left if you guys do want to try and talk to someone about that, or we could just sort of ride it out and see what comes. Because we're at one beat before our next crisis scene.
Does Noah want to do something about that, or?
I don't think so. I think, honestly, the two of you built up a lot of angst over that question. And Noah kind of just got well, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what I don't know what I feel yet. So I think it may have to be one of the two of you who does anything about this. If either of us, any of us. Does Salem want to do a reading?
I mean, Salem's always down to do a reading, but
I think we leave it hanging. I think it's too close to the last question we had. Although this is obviously bigger because it's not three people talking. It's how are we going to make this career decision.
Gotcha.
So we'll leave it hanging.
Okay. All right. Well, so we have one beat left before our crisis scene. It's interesting. I have a lot of thoughts here because, I mean, as much as a giant robot fight would be fun, it would also be kind of cool for just be a gigantic argument between everybody, which is also an option. A crisis scene doesn't have to be a giant robot fight. You know, any kind of intense conflict can be a crisis scene as long as we have to like go down to that beat by beat level of action.
You know what I would love?
Said this is for a podcast, so I don't know if I'm allowed to skip giant robots.
I would love. We're at 9. I would love if by next week we have both. If some of the things on the field that we have to protect are arguments we're having while saving like infrastructure.
Oh, Frank's got it. Frank wins. Okay.
Yay.
So let's it is that time. So let's wind things up. But when our crisis scene, well, we'll finish this last beat next week as like the jumping off point. But I think that'd be fun. We'll have sort of the overlaid events. I might need to extend it a little bit just to make sure enough stuff gets to go on. But yeah. All right, let's do that.
Nice. All right. Once again, to find out more about the game, go to robotclaw.info. Find out more about the podcast, go to Non-Productive.com. To find out more about us, do a reading.
Yep.
We'll have a better ending of this podcast one of these days.
We don't need